Hey Lakeland, start off your semester right with a charged mobile device. Now at Lakeland, we have 4 mobile device charging stations that can be used for free throughout the campus. They are located in Breakers, E-Lounge, C-Lounge, and Y Building Game Room. Each device comes with 8 cords for mobile devices. Get charged up today. These were provided by Lakeland Student Government.
Here I am waiting, I'll have to leave soon, why am I holding on?
All right, we'd like to welcome everyone back to this.
Good morning.
Good morning. It's the Scott and Steve show here. It's Wednesday, 9 a.m., so it's time for us. Welcome, everyone. Steve, welcome back after a nice sabbatical last week.
Yes. I wasn't able to make it like I thought I would, but I'm glad the show carried on and Jeremiah stepped up to the proverbial plate.
He did, and he was quite the Michigan fan last week. It was interesting to watch and hear.
How was he a Michigan fan, though?
Well,
I had to go crawl under a rock and, after that.
Okay, but, I mean, I wasn't able to listen to the show, so...
He left here doing cartwheels, I might add.
Good.
He was pretty fired up. I was impressed with his abilities to move around and stuff.
Okay.
Speaking of debacles, let's start off with the topic of the day there. Let's talk about the football game, Atlanta versus the Seahawks,
right,
and officiating and that whole scenario. You want to get into that and the preferential treatment of Mr. Sherman?
As a general football lover, obviously I root for the Cincinnati Bengals, but I do watch pretty much as much NFL I can on Sunday. So watching the Atlanta Falcons and the Seattle Seahawks play literally came down to the last play of the game to give Atlanta the tying field goal. I think they were even in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
I could be wrong. Okay.
Yep.
And I think Schaub threw that pretty long pass, and not Schaub. God. Anyway, quarterback threw the pass. Receiver went up for it in a coverage of two D-backs, and Mr. Richard Sherman so gracefully had a very wide, open, and clear shot of a pass interference and pulling the receiver down. I was it was just a wholeheartedly missed bad, not even a bad call. There was no call, and the lack of judgment on the officiating team cost Atlanta from going for a field goal and scoring 3 to tie it up and send it into overtime. Looking back at it, if Jeremiah is playing it right now on the stream, but you'll see the Atlanta Falcons head coach just running wild down the sidelines. I mean, he was upset, and I can't say I blame him, but he's going up. Sherman clearly has his right arm and pulls him down. There might be a different angle, but I understand. That's part of the game, the human error or what have you with the officiating. But there's cases now where instant replay is used for some of the most minuscule things. I think situations like that where officiating in general gets it so categorically wrong that it should be used. Under what rules, how they would create it, I have no idea. But those are usually the instances that get people fired up. But who knows? Maybe there's a Battle of the Birds rivalry now or something.
Right. I know that that has certainly been in question for the last several years across pro sports in general.
Right.
Certainly, seeing the film again and knowing the outcome, it clearly had a major impact on that particular that play,
right,
and therefore the game. As you know, they're looking at replay. I mean, in football, replay has grown and grown over the last several years. It's growing in baseball. It's just growing as a thing. And so, if I hear you correctly, I'm hearing you saying that you're an advocate for technology and replay, and
yeah, a lot of people thought it would kill the game, and it hasn't.
Right.
If anything, I think we've all been, whatever team we're rooting for, I think we've all been on the side of where it helps us out, but it also goes against us. But,
right,
if you can use it to the advantage and level that playing field, pardon the pun, I really think it keeps the honest people honest.
Let me ask you, do you have suggestions of how to implement it? Because, knowing a little bit about football also, it seems like almost every play in the line, a hold, a chop block, some type of penalty
Right.
could be called on the line every play of the game. So I think that's the difficulty of it is where do you draw that line, you know? And I'm not sure there's a great answer to that yet.
Well, I think here the problem is the league, in this case, the NFL, is ruled on when it can be used and when it can't be used. And we know that they get two, you know, if they don't get it, they
Right.
get the charge timeout, or they don't get the charge timeout if they find, in fact, that, you know,
Right.
the challenge was good. I would definitely still leave those parameters, leave it up to the coaches. I wouldn't make it an official review, just because, you know, that has its time and place. But
Right.
definitely if either team wants to challenge.
So in a
See,
way,
I don't know.
with
It's tough
baseball,
just because there's so many different things. You know,
Right.
it limits right now. I mean, obviously, you can't challenge a referee's ruling either.
Right.
You know, you have to be able to challenge something that you don't like the spot of the foul, or the
Right.
challenge if his foot was in or out of the bounds, so on and so forth.
Right.
So, I guess it would be tough because you would be challenging the direct authority, I guess, of the referee at that point.
Right.
You know, not necessarily technicalities. I don't know what I don't know the word I'm using, but yeah. And then now that I'm thinking about it, maybe are you then taking away that authority from the referee and saying, hey, the power of the camera rules?
Right.
You know.
Right.
But we all know some of the greatest games have just been because of human error.
Right, no, absolutely true, and that comes down to the question: is that an appropriate, accepted part of the game? Human error being on the officials in this part. I umpire a lot as well, and,
Right.
and at my low level, of course, that I certainly do. I think we try to get it right, but do we make mistakes? Absolutely,
Right.
Absolutely make mistakes. So should that be overruled? You know, I mean, you always want to do what's best. You try to do what's right. I guess the question that I would have is all right. So official makes a mistake, you know, in a play in a game. You know, people have called for the replay. People have called for them sometimes to lose their job, position, what have you, demotion, what have you. The question I have with that is that throughout the game, the athletes themselves make several mistakes. The coaches make several mistakes. You know, I don't know, and yet I guess they can lose their job and stuff. But I mean, there isn't a far outcry with, geez, that was a mistake there, and what's the repercussion? Everyone's jumping on the officials when the players themselves oftentimes make several mistakes throughout the games, and there's not much you can do about that.
Sure.
And I don't know if it's right or wrong. I'm just bringing out that other side that certainly is out there. I mean, I could look at the baseball game last night with the Indians, and
Right.
Francona pulling Chisenhall and putting Roger Davis in. I mean, I know when it happened, I'm sitting rolling my eyes, going, "Oh, this is a mistake," But you never know. And then the Carrera hits the ball to right center, and Davis took an absolutely horrible route that you would think that most little leaguers would take a better route on, and it winds up in a triple and a run for the Jays in that situation, but. Where's the cry there? What do we do with that? I guess that's his playing time and stuff. So I mean, I guess there is consequences for that for those decisions down the road. And if a manager continues to make decisions, they would certainly lose their job. So I guess in long run there is, but it's not the immediate impact. And the officiating, I struggle with that a little bit. I mean, the human error. I do think it's a big part of the game, and I do think that's something that adds to the game.
Right.
Sometimes subtracts from the game.
Sure.
Speaking of technology, though, you're probably aware that Bill Belichick had a absolute tantrum with his iPad as far as getting the reception of plays and
I
all
did
that
not
kind of
know
stuff.
that.
Oh yeah, so they got him online. He's throwing his iPad down.
And just
having
for the
all kinds
record,
of hits.
it's actually a Surface Pro.
Oh, excuse me.
I mean, NFL is a big sponsor of the Windows Surface Pro. So,
Well, I can tell you that he does not think much of it as
Well.
he took it through with the reception. And so he has stated that he doesn't care. He's going back to the old school model. Paper pictures, that's all he wants. He wants no more of the Surface Pro as
Sure.
it's wasn't getting him the information quickly enough, accurately enough, or what have you.
Right.
So I don't know. Technology at its best, least, worst, what have you.
right. If I could, real quick, give a shout out to Facilities Director Bert Deal. standing outside the booth right now.
Bert Deal is an avid basketball fan and player, I might add.
Yeah.
He certainly still moves with the best of them. He
Little
loves
finesse.
to play. Oh yeah, he loves to play college students. In fact, I think this afternoon at about 12:30, faculty staff will be heading down to the main gym, and Bert will try to lead the faculty staff to, or at least his side, to victory. I believe he's still undefeated on the new auxiliary court, and I think is what he prompts out there.
Has that
So-
seen playing time? Is that you guys in normal court now?
Well, that's where the faculty
Breaking it in?
yeah,
Breaking
we're
it in the
breaking
floor?
it in for the
Okay.
floor. That's right.
Right on.
Yeah. So we're trying to keep the backboards in place
Okay.
as we go.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of fun. So today at 12:30, if someone wants to come down and hoop it up here, faculty staff, we look
Very
to see you
good.
down there.
Very good. I did want to note, continuing a little bit of the NFL,
Yes.
everybody, all 4 teams in the AFC Central.
Okay.
Is it the Central still?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the Central, not the North. I called it the North. You know,
Well,
old habits die hard, but all 4 lost. My Bengals, Browns, Ravens, and Steelers. And the Steelers actually took a shot.
You know,
so-
I was going to say to you, I wanted to talk to you about that because I know that Ben Roethlisberger is one of your key guys that you have in your leagues and what have you. Steelers,
I had to drop 'em.
Steelers were tough.
I had to drop them. I had to go for Dalton.
Oh boy, I tell you.
I'm not certain if Dalton will be my, rest of the year guy in the QB, but I definitely see some good hope for him this Sunday against
I was
Cleveland.
going to say he's playing Cleveland this week, so you think
I
he's going to
definitely
light
had
it up?
Yeah, I had to go for him, and
Well, he put up 21 last week, man.
yeah, it was decently solid. I mean, it was still a loss, but
Right.
I also had to drop my kicker, Graham Gano.
Okay.
He's not putting up the numbers with Carolina that you'd think he would this year, coming off their Super Bowl appearance. Carolina's actually not doing too hot, to tell you the truth. And one of the deciding factors in Gano going bye-bye was the fact that he missed an extra point. There were 5
those are supposed to be
5
automatic.
missed extra points this past Sunday. Not his only, I mean,
Right.
but
Yeah.
a total of 5.
You think it's because they moved it back that 5 yards, 7 yards?
I
mean,
can't.
come on.
You know, these guys. These are professionals.
Exactly
They
right.
they need to hit those automatics all the time.
Right.
I just think it's the jitters. I really think it's the butterflies, the nerves, whatever have you. You know. So
There you go. Well, speaking of the Browns in Cincinnati, I
Mhm.
mean, you're not going to go with Cody Kessler, and as he rolled this past week, it was competitive and that kind of thing. The Browns were up and coming, they say.
Every year.
Silence says it all. Silence
I
says it all.
have no. There is no answer.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe a move's in order for Cleveland football.
Ooh,
Come on.
You're talking a Baltimore type move?
Whatever.
No.
It's- come on.
Not that.
Honestly, these fans, and I used to be one.
Okay.
You know, so I guess I have some area to talk freely about it. I mean,
Sure.
come on, really?
Well, one thing I will say
They're
is
the only
they're
team
open.
who hasn't won a game still. They're 0-6.
I'll be honest
0-7.
with- I'll be honest with
0-7,
you.
I'm sorry.
I don't see them winning a game for
They're probably not gonna.
4 scores in 7 years.
Yeah. I think they have a chance to beat the Jets. I think they play the Jets later on.
In New York? If it's in New York, they won't beat them.
I thought it was home, but I'd have to double check that. But
Can find
Jeremiah's
out.
looking to play it up. But anyway, that might be the one game where I say, you know what? If you got to beat somebody.
In 2 weeks.
In
I-
2
you know,
weeks,
but see, here's-
where's it at, Jeremiah?
Here.
Here.
England.
Oh.
But here's the problem, though,
Yes.
right? Cleveland, the Indians are doing
Yep.
so well. Obviously, everybody's riding the waves from the Cavs. Indians have now taken over. They're in the ALCS. Nobody's even. I mean, don't get me wrong. You have your Browns fans. They're going to
Sure,
the games right there.
absolutely.
Okay, so it's Misery's Loves Company.
Right.
They're all sitting down there and commiserating. But on a national level, though, nobody's caring about the Browns right now, per se,
That's
because
true.
the Indians are stealing the spotlight for
Right.
the city as a whole.
Correct.
Once the baseball's done,
Monsters
people are going to
back in season.
No, I know they're back in, back in, and the Cavs, thank God, are starting back
That's-
up.
that's exactly
But nobody's realizing how bad the Browns really are until they snap to it and like, oh my God, we're the only team in the NFL who hasn't won a game.
Right. Well, I think apathy is definitely the word of the day for the Browns.
Right.
I would say the crowd, the communities as a whole are.
You know, I actually had high hopes for Hugh Jackson coming from Cincinnati.
Sure.
It's obviously apparent that Cincinnati lost a little bit of their finesse when they lost Jackson because, let's face it, they're 2-4.
Right.
I think, yeah, maybe. But I don't know. I mean,
It's funny when Jackson came in. A lot of the people had a lot of high hopes for him and
Right.
the Browns. I do think though that Cleveland is so far away from being competitive. There's
Right.
so many holes, so many things. I really can't fault Jackson and his efforts thus far because I don't think any coach could come in with what we had,
Right.
plug in a few and say, okay, now we're going to be.
Well, it's not going to be an
Yeah.
overnight thing, and
Right.
I get that.
You know,
I mean,
so-
they're competitive. They're putting up numbers,
Right.
right? So they're not getting shut out, but they're like a bad lawyer who just can't close
Right.
the deal.
But I do think it's a step in the right direction. I mean, considering where we've been,
A win would be a good step in the
it
right
would be
direction.
a wonderful step.
A
That's
QB
like-
not ending up in ER or something. That would
Hey,
be improvement.
Kessler made it through a whole game.
I just, what is with the
But
quarterback?
still, yeah. What happened to it before?
I know.
What is with the quarterback?
Irony.
Though? Honestly, you have to ask yourself. It's not the player anymore. It's the structure that they have set up around that person.
Right.
You know, is it the line? I don't know. Is it the quarterback's coach? I don't know. I'm sure they probably replaced a few of those in the
Oh,
past
absolutely,
years.
they have.
You know, so
Well, they
I
have-
don't know.
They
I
have,
don't know.
They have a ton of draft picks this year. We got into this a little bit last week, and you know how to go about doing it. My opinion for what that matters here, and I'm sure the Browns are listening intently, is I think you draft this year. I think you draft linemen,
Right.
safeties, defensive play this year.
Yeah.
Because I don't care what quarterback you take, we don't have enough around him.
Right. And Joe Thomas isn't going to last forever.
Right. So I think you get out, you address that, and with the idea of we're still a couple years
Right.
away, and I know Browns fans, but I still think that's the way to go. To build.
Corners, too.
Corners, yeah, defensive backs.
But let me
Huge
ask
thing,
you a question.
fullback.
Let me ask you a question, though. When you look at, obviously, the Browns coming into this season with RG3, he gets hurt, right? So then you have McCown, okay. Then you have Kessler. You go out and get Charlie Whitehurst. You have Pryor.
Right.
I mean, he's actually doing pretty good as a wide receiver right now.
Right.
It's probably their only hope in my mind. You know
I
what
would
they
agree.
have. But when you actually look at Dak Prescott, how he's playing in Dallas behind
Absolutely.
Romo, I think Romo's gone. Romo's going to lose his job the way he got his job.
Right.
You look at
Thing about Prescott, though, if you listen to what he says, who's the quarterback of the Cowboys?
he knows it's Tony Romo. He's showing the
Yeah.
respect. He's
That's
doing the right
exactly
thing. Though.
Absolutely
he's
right.
doing the right thing. But I guarantee when Romo is back up and running from his back injuries,
Right.
he's damaged goods. He's old. I mean, let's face it. In the eyes of an NFL player, he's done.
And the Cowboys are doing great.
Right.
I mean,
They're
you know,
winning.
they're winning. Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly right.
But if you look at it, even New England, they marched to the beat of the drummer
Right.
till Brady came back.
Right.
Why is it the Browns just can't even get a starter, let alone have the depth in the QB slot
Right.
to still compete?
Right. And again, I would go back to, and who knows the real reason, but my,
Right.
my view is that the drafts, they have missed so bad on the drafts for the last several years that it can't be made up in one year, you know? And I think that they got a couple things. I think they should look at some of the people drafting that positions I
Right.
mentioned earlier, but also they've got a ton of draft picks. Use some of them, package them. If there's another quarterback out there, somebody you want, you got to start making that
Yeah.
play. At
I mean-
some point, it's got to happen.
And I know I always kind of go back to when they came back, but
Right.
Scott, in a couple of years, it's 20 years they've been back.
I know.
20 years.
I know.
I mean, the crutch is gone.
Right. I do think, though, continuing
Well,
to change.
the owners.
Owner-
Past two owners.
Owners have changed, but I also think that
Yeah.
you can't continue to change the coaches, the managers, the offensive coordinators, defensive
Right.
because the continual change, and no one can ever get set.
Right. There's no continuity.
Right. And when you come in, what are you going to do? I got to get rid of these guys. I got to get my guys.
Well,
You
sure,
know,
I mean-
and that just takes time.
I mean, I look at Cincinnati as a model, not necessarily the end all to be all, but I mean, if you look at Marvin Lewis, right? Marvin Lewis, he's a consistent coach, right?
Correct.
He's getting them to the postseason. Granted, they can't make it past that first game. That seems
First
to be
round,
elusive
baby.
for him.
Right.
But he's getting them there.
Right.
And they're not messing with that. I mean, sure, some of his,
The
lower level guys
coordinators,
are going away
absolutely.
and finding jobs
Yep.
themselves. But for the
Yep.
most part, the core is still staying the same.
Right.
And that's what the Browns have to do. The fans are going to have to put up with possibly a good 5 years of losing seasons. You
I
know,
would agree.
The problem is, I understand the passion of the Browns fan, but sometimes that passion misguides them into being vocal and controlling what the Browns actually do
Right.
and forcing the hand. Because yes, in the end, you got to please the fans. They're the ones buying the
Buy
tickets and the
tickets.
jerseys and
Right.
the souvenirs. But at the same time, they need to be like, listen, we will get you to a point that you need to be at, but
Right.
you have to trust us, and it's not going to be pretty for the first couple of years.
Well, with
I've
that,
always been a huge supporter of Bill Cowher coming in
Nah, he ain't
and
gonna do
coming
that.
and sticking it to the fans
He's-
like that.
yeah, he's not going to do that. His loyalty is Pittsburgh.
I know.
but if you think about that same motto, though, let's talk about the Indians right now.
Okay.
How many years ago were they They were great in the 90s,
Right.
horrible in the early 2000s, if you will, or not competitive, but they had a plan, and everyone ripped Shapiro, and everyone ripped the owners, Dolans,
Yeah.
and everything, but they stuck with their plan, if you will. It took longer than anticipated, but they did stick with it, and now they've got some rookies that have come up and have contributed. They've brought in some veterans that have helped, and I mean, let's be honest, they took a lot of heat for how many years
Well,
waiting. The
Organi-
Chicago
but
Cubs,
see,
same thing.
And even your Patriots, though. I mean, in the '80s.
Yeah,
I
they're
mean, let's be
same-
real. But
yep.
but there comes a point though where it's almost cyclical, though. Okay, they go
True.
through their bad spell, then they rise
True.
and rise, and now they're in a dynasty area.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But
So how does a team like Pittsburgh do it? Coaching continuity, owner continuity.
owners. I mean, well, number one, it starts with the owner who wants to win.
True.
Okay. Kraft.
Right.
You know, this is an owner. Obviously, we know the name, the family name, and
Sure.
what he's associated with. But he's at every game.
Right.
He cares. Al Davis used to care.
Right.
His son, yeah.
You know,
George Steinbrenner.
Steinbrenner, right?
Oh.
But that's what I'm saying. You got to have
Right.
an owner that's passionate. Now, we
Right.
all know Randy Lerner was not that owner.
Right.
He had his interests over in soccer and
Right.
overseas.
Right.
Jimmy Haslam, though, where's he been? I thought he was actually going to be the great owner for the team when
Right.
he came in and bought the Browns, and he got tied up in the
Illegal issues.
the illegal issues with his
Right. Pilot.
gas stations,
Yeah.
pilot, right?
Yep.
I'm still saying, though, the whole thing with Johnny bringing him here was behind his whole spiel. Because that, timeline, legal issues
he
and
was
all that.
he was a Manziel fan. I mean, he came
Yeah.
out and
Yeah.
stated he wanted a Manziel.
Sure,
and
but he was also the first one to say, "I made a mistake."
exactly right.
He
you know?
called it. But Haslam, as an owner, right, as a public figure, as the owner, here's the tools you need to make a winning team. He's not there.
Right.
He hasn't
Right.
been in it, and actually, he's a big dud.
Well, it's funny because the Browns have gone over. I mean, the method was at one point to bring in our football guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's when they brought in the Packers.
Rob,
Packers. Holgram. They brought in
Yeah.
Holgram because a football guy to correct it. So in other words, we're going to be an owner with some ideas.
that's right. I forgot
But
about it.
we're going to listen to a football guy.
Wow.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? But how quickly did the fans and everyone turn on that when it wasn't happening
Right.
away?
They want that instant gratification, and it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Holmgren was the answer by
Right.
any means, but on the same aspect, you got to have some patience,
Right.
And unfortunately, in the Brown situation, that patience has been how many years? But on the same aspect, it's not going to get fixed in one day. And I'm actually still pulling for Hugh Jackson. I think he's still a couple years away from being competitive, like 500 competitive.
Yeah.
But on the same aspect, I think that he is getting the players to play for him. He's got a ton of young guys playing, and I think that bodes well for the future.
But how long do you roll with the young comment?
Well, I think you roll with them. I think it's going to be a couple of years, but at some point within the next year or two, if you feel confident in those rookies developing, I think at that point that's when you have to reach out and get those
Right.
veteran those other players to come in. Now, let's be honest, you're going to have to overpay.
Right.
Because no one's going to voluntarily come to the Browns with their recent history.
Right.
You're going to have to overpay. You're going to have to pay too many draft picks, too many whatever to get people.
Right.
And then God help them if they underperform.
But now's the time to do it, and I'll tell you why. Ben, he's out. He obviously he's ailing over the years of abuse he's taken it because of the style of quarterback he is.
Right.
Flacco, I don't think Flacco's worth the hype. I really
No.
don't. He might have an arm,
Right.
but I don't think he's worth the hype. I don't see his career lasting long. And unfortunately, I think this is probably going to be the last year for Dalton.
Right.
And I not through anything I've read, I know they signed him 2 years ago to a big deal, but
Right.
I think they're going to have to start cutting their losses and developing McCarron.
Right.
So if the Browns were smart, they'd get it right and be at the top of the game because
Well,
I
point
have
well
a feeling
taken.
the whole division is going to go upside down in a matter of 2 to 3 years.
Right. Well, but that's what we're talking about. A 2 to 3 year period is, they get some draft. Like I said, they bring in some more draft picks next year. Use some of those additional picks.
I'm
for
telling
some
you
other
right now,
people.
I tweeted or Facebooked yesterday, Sunday, calling it right now, 2017 Browns quarterback, Tony Romo. I guarantee it. I guarantee.
No.
Yes, I guarantee.
No.
Dallas gets rid of him. They cut their losses because Prescott is putting up such great performance.
That's
their franchise guy. The Browns will go after Romo. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
With his injury, Pat, like here, the first
Doesn't matter. I mean, you picked up RG3, and sorry,
here.
I'm yelling in the microphone here, but that was. I mean,
the past
RG.
2 years,
Right.
I ended up getting Des Bryant in my fantasy league.
Right.
You know what happens? The past 2 years, I was always able to pull a trade for Des Bryant for AJ Green. Just we're in a horrible situation of Romo, he's going to get hurt, and like last year,
Yeah, but as a wide
Romo
receiver,
gets hurt,
Come
Des
on.
gets hurt.
I don't buy that wide receiver quarterback thing. I mean, yes, you do have your combos, but just because your quarterback goes down doesn't mean that wide receiver should suffer.
You got to have someone that can throw him the ball.
Exactly.
Prescott can.
Well, I agree with
Well,
that. And
you're
I think,
talking like.
I mean, I think at that
last
point it's
year.
mental.
right, and I think Prescott is it's certainly the obvious. I mean, it's not stating the
Right.
obvious. I think now he's the quarterback of the future, certainly for the Cowboys.
I mean, Jerry Jones, another great owner
yes,
who's
You-
not afraid to win.
right, and they will take chances. Let's be honest,
Well,
they'll
I-
take chances. They'll go out and give you the tools.
But look at Dan Gilbert in basketball.
Right.
I want that ring, and I want it now.
Right.
I'm paying the tax.
right, and he also
Well, not including the monsters he owns.
Sure.
right.
No,
But-
that's a hobby.
yeah.
I'm telling you, Dan Gilbert for the Cleveland Browns owner.
It's not
That's
gonna
a
happen.
movement.
Yeah, that would be a movement. But you could also go the other the way with it. I mean, look at Mike Ilitch, the owner of the Red Wings. All right.
Right.
I mean, he made significant investments in the Red Wings to get very, very good, and they were good for a while, but
Yeah.
they got old. I mean,
Right.
let's be honest, they got old. I do think that's where sometimes the owners. I think they had to be aggressive, be willing to do that, but I also feel they need to listen to some people with some sense
Right.
in the game. You know what I mean? In this case, football
Sure.
people or the hockey people in that sense.
There's a difference between being involved and hands-on.
Right.
And no GM, no head coach, whatever you go on,
Right.
whatever stage. I don't think any GM appreciates when you have that owner that steps in and
That's
says,
correct.
"Hey, maybe we should. Well, listen, keep the green flowing. Let me
Right.
do what I need to do."
Right.
Right,
That's exactly right.
And I think the better ones, like Jerry Jones, maybe even Al Davis, as influential as they might have been on the sidelines,
Right.
in the camera, whatever, I think they ultimately did place that trust. Now, don't get me wrong, they don't like to lose,
Right.
so they will make corrective action in that in the
Well,
office.
and that's where
area.
the GM's head will roll.
Right.
If you're not being successful, and
Right.
I'm giving you the tools, finances, what have
Sure.
we expect success. I
Right.
mean, there's no question. So yeah, it's interesting because the Red Sox are just going through it as well as Dabrowski, who came over from Detroit as as a GM. He made some significant splashes right away, and most notably getting David Price.
Right.
And people feel that. Me being one of them, that they overpaid for him. Too many years, 7 years, gazillions of dollars. But they're his assistant, the quote GM, the actual GM, just went to Arizona the other day, and they're thinking that he's going to take Tony Lavullo, the bench coach for the Sox, with him, because Lavullo has been sitting behind Farrell for the last couple of years, and Farrell's not a fan. Correction, the fans are not a huge supporter of Farrell for the last few years, and they actually think that Lavullo is a good coach. So, but here's a GM who's probably going to take the coach with him, and the feeling is exactly what we're talking about. Hey, you know what? I'm a paper pusher. Dabrowski as the VP is really doing the GM's job as well, and so since I'm not useful, I'm not doing it. I see that a parallel to an owner who can't, in my view, step over that realm. You
Right.
know, and I think that relates to any business world. Think about your
Right.
current job, my job, anywhere. You want support, but you don't want the boss to make decisions for you. Else, why are you there?
Sure.
You know what do
Right.
what is your role?
Right.
Oh, interesting topics here today. We got
Exactly.
to
I mean, we're still on football.
Holy mackerel! Yeah, we haven't even got
Still.
to college football yet.
What else you got?
Dan Gilbert for owner.
No, it'll never happen.
Not gonna
He's
happen.
not
It's
gonna
gonna
put all-
happen.
He's not going to put all of his eggs in the Cleveland basket. I
Right.
guarantee it.
No, he's smart enough businessman. He will diversify. But I do want to say on that, even though you made the prediction about Romo, I will go on record as saying I don't believe that's going to happen. Romo will
October
not be
19, 2016, I called it.
Romo will not
Romo.
be the quarterback of the Browns
Yep.
in 17. Gosh.
Come on, did you ever think Jeff Garcia would be? Did you ever think Trent Dilfer would be. I mean, all these quarterbacks who've been to the big games.
The only way that happens, and I can't, is if they fire Hugh Jackson. I think Hugh Jackson is committed to the youth movement now. I don't think he has a choice but to commit. And if he's going to go out and get somebody else that's a veteran to give him some presence.
Romo's what, 32?
I was going to say, it can't
He's
be
old.
Romo.
He's
Can't
old.
be them. I don't see it.
Listen.
I hear you. I just don't see it.
You can make all this logical sense in your brain you want. The
Which
Browns
means
do
it will
not
happen.
do that.
right. Which means it will happen.
That's right.
Next
I'm telling you.
Oh, man. All right, folks, we want to talk about some upcoming things. Friday, October 21st, we have the LinkedIn workshop. That'll be going down. Career Service is sponsoring that, and that'll be A1039. So find out how you can find a job. Go to LinkedIn workshop. Again, A1039, Friday at 10 a.m. We want to remind you you could donate blood at the Athletic and Fitness Center. That'll be coming up Tuesday, October 25th and 26th from 11 to 5 p.m.
Always a worthy cause.
Great cause there. And if you do it, you get a $5 Subway gift card. So, hey, there you go.
Hey, $5 foot long.
That's right. Well, now it's
more.
$7.50 foot long.
Is it really?
Oh, it's
wow.
Oh, yeah,
what
it's
you
like
get.
6 something or more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it will allow you to get a half a foot long.
There you go.
6 incher. So, and then of course, I know Jeremiah has been dying to talk about Halloween show coming up on that Thursday, the 27th.
You had a camp Halloween party.
Yeah.
Yeah, the kids parties 6 to 8. The adults 9 to 11. Main gym. You can dress up, music, fun games, food, photo booth, inflatables, all that fun stuff.
It is the event of the year.
Yeah, the event of
Big
the year.
event.
That's right. There will be a lot of people dressed up. So, Jeremiah, you're going. I'm
well,
assuming?
you know what?
I was
Since
gonna
we
say,
got into it, we'll just talk about it.
The clown's coming.
Clowns, definitely.
Clowns will be there?
Bring the clowns.
Oh, you're going to see all those kids, the little kids at the 6 to 8, running for there, and all the parents.
Yeah, the biggest clown will be there.
I mean, what is it? No, I won't be there. But I don't understand this clown hysteria. I understand, it's catching on because people want to have fun with it, right? But I don't understand the hysteria. What has any clown done other than John Wayne Gacy?
Well, I was going to say,
they wrote music.
Yeah, I mean, but clowns are funny. I don't, hey.
Also
have a good time with it.
I have no problem with clowns, but there are a lot of people, for whatever reason, are nervous about the whole thing.
I think it's great.
People are petrified if they see a clown walking
This is
around
the society.
town.
This is the society that we've turned into, where you get a bunch of people dressing up like clowns, and we don't know what to do with ourselves.
Are we clowning around now? That's
I guess
what
so.
I want to know.
I would say so, with no paint.
Oh boy! All right, everyone. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hey, Lakeland Effect radio listeners, this is the Lowlies, the overlooked and underappreciated local band of Cleveland. Tune in, listen, and appreciate this station. You'll love it.
It's a local music spotlight on Lake Effect Radio. Franchise Feel This Pain featuring William Money.
To the bank. Since we talk about the bank, can you tell me what banks? I can do this by myself, I got a musical tank. Never did it for a chain or a musical rank. I gotta do this for my family, so I know you relate. Cause these struggles getting hard to put the food on the plate. I bet you feel like you're alone when you're moving in place. Just let the haters keep hating, keep on doing your thing. If you can make it through the storm, there's a beautiful rain. What you others take for less, I'ma use it to gain. Man, I'm feeling like Pac, it's just so much pain. You suckers never make me change what you want in exchange. Make sure you keep an open mind when shit looks strange. Never hesitate to turn the page on these lanes. Do you stay true till you ahead of the game?
ice water veins. I ain't had this struggle if my parents still around. Would Aaron still hustle? Sitting in the cage, grams passing like the rage. So I threw the pen out, spilled blood on the page. Monsters in my heart, I'm a rap game menace. Better I hit the corner quick, wrist whip game chemist. The pain, it eats away main. I twist another bottle, I sniff a little cane. I lit another blunt, load it up and let it bang. After living through the shit, man, I'll never be the same. The issue sorting out, but my mind ain't right. So I sleep through the day and I walk through the night. Choked by this life, every day's just a fight. Got me storming through the dark, pumping blunts, where's the light? So you don't even know it, and life seems hopeless. Got you looking over shoulders, every corner there's a roller. Got me mindless, mind lost, living what's the cost if you only live to hustle. Hustle off, solved, the darker days past. Homie rested at his wedding, now we doing 20 easy. See the board after 5, so I shed a few tears with a prayer for his life. I always love my brother, it just hurts me to write. Alright.
All right, we want to welcome you back to the Scott and Steve show here. We're having a wonderful conversation. We're going to drift into Major League Baseball now as we go. We'll start off with the National League, which had the beloved Chicago Cubs traveling out to the
Who's
Los
beloved?
Angeles.
Your beloved?
Oh, come on, man. You got to love the Cubbies.
Nah.
The Cubs traveling out to Los Angeles, and they were shut out promptly by the Dodgers, 6-0 last night. Rich Hill pitched phenomenally for the Dodgers, and Jake Arrieta, he pitched well but got lit up, and so the Dodgers rolled. So that leads us to our trivia question today, and that is, how many innings has it been since the Chicago Cubs have scored? How long have they been shut out for? Obviously, they were shut out the game before as Clayton Kershaw pitched a gem for the Dodgers.
I'm just making sure the candy bars are there.
Candy bars are there for our listeners. You can. What is the email address to text in here?
I
well,
used to
no,
have it. I
its
don't have it
actual
with me.
number
Oh, okay.
would be
Text.
440. Yeah,
Oh, wow. We're
940
cutting edge.
6615.
All right. So if you know that answer, please call in.
That's
and
this
we'll give you
pretty
that.
thing.
All right. Very good.
I got to stand. I can't sit anymore. Sorry about that. So
Yeah, this
Standing
pretty
O.
thing.
standing room only.
That's correct. Speaking
on.
of standing room only, let's move over to the Indians for a moment.
Okay.
The reason I say standing room only is the Indians are one game away from making it to the World Series.
You know.
And they took one on the chin last night up in Toronto. They lost 5-1. However, just for fun yesterday, I looked online because I said, you know what? If the Indians go to the World Series, I want to go to a game. I've never been to a World Series game.
You know how much standing room only is going for?
I do, because I looked it up yesterday.
I did too.
$450
a lot of dinero.
Some dollars
That's right.
is what I saw yesterday for a standing room only ticket.
StubHub.
Yes.
It'll be cheaper.
Well,
Maybe.
significantly cheaper is what I need.
Yeah.
If it's not going to be that, then I do feel a night of going downtown and sitting in Panini's maybe
Right.
and watching a game, and I can spend $20 and
Then you got to watch out for parking.
okay, I'll
That's
spend.
getting up there
Yeah,
already.
that's going to be like 20,
All right,
25.
so I'll spend $50 total.
It'd still
on
be
the
cheaper to go to
night.
Panini's.
That's
We'll just
correct.
put it that way.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's okay. But the Indians, one win away, and I thought it was a very interesting decision that stated yesterday to a lot of people that I think it was a mistake to throw Kluber in Game 4, though I do understand trying to bring him back early at Game 7 if needed. However, pitching on short rest, he obviously wasn't to his top. He wasn't Kluber-esque. He was still very good,
That's what he makes some money for, though.
you know. But now they're going to ask him to do it potentially twice.
But going into the postseason, you know it's not going to be the regular rotation.
That's absolutely correct there. But speaking of not regular rotation, though, they're bringing on Mr. Merritt today, a young guy who's thrown 11 innings in his professional career, and he's the starter for Game 5 of the Indians.
That's how stars are born.
Well, I think what it means is...
You know that.
Yeah, I was going to say, what it means with Cleveland, the way that whole season has gone, he'll probably throw a 8-inning no-hitter or
That'd be
something
great.
like that, and just and Cleveland will roll. I mean,
Right.
that's just the way things seem
Just
to
watch
go.
that bold prediction from last Wednesday happen.
Jeremiah's referring to his prediction that the Indians will win 4-1, 4 games to 1 over the Blue Jays. I still do not see that happening. I see this going to Game 7. You heard it here first, folks. Game 7.
No way.
And when that happens, it'll be very
No way.
interesting to see what happens. I think the Jays have the ability to roll today. Tomlin, for me, will be the key to it. Tomlin obviously will be scheduled to pitch Game 6 in Cleveland. Josh is a very good pitcher, curveball pitcher, so it'll be interesting to see if he's able to be successful again against the Blue Jays. Certainly capable, but I think my prediction is Game 7, though I would not be shocked if Cleveland won it in 6. But not today there, my friend.
I guarantee it's today.
Ooh, guaranteed.
If it ends up happening tonight, I'm just going to randomly email them and say, wait, what about that again?
I
We'll
will
make
get-
a friendly wager.
There you go, friendly wager.
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke for you. I'll take a hot chocolate. I
I'll
don't
buy you
drink
hot
sodas.
chocolate tomorrow
There you go.
if in fact you are the winner.
Speaking of hot chocolates, I do have a wager going on with Cheryl Poto down on Breakers,
Okay.
our favorite dining place here on campus.
Right.
We have every day I either buy her a tea if the Indians win, or if the Indians lose, then she buys me a hot chocolate. And I'm actually rooting for the Tribe, but I still just
You still
didn't think it
enjoy
was-
a hot
I
chocolate.
still enjoy a hot chocolate. That's exactly right. So very good. So speaking of that, go down and visit Breakers. Say hello to Cheryl, Chuck behind the grill, and then everyone there. It's a good time, great place to eat, and
Right.
enjoy it there. So moving along here with this trivia question. Any thoughts? Any
You didn't do the trivia question yet.
Well, I
I
thought
think we
it-
got sidetracked.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought I did. How many innings have the Chicago Cubs been shut out for in a row? And do we have any hints or anything we want to talk about, Steve? I mean, I know you were thinking about it
No.
right away.
I know the answer now, but
Home and away is key to this, folks.
well, yeah,
Home
there
and
you go.
away is
There's a
key.
hint right
There's
there.
your hint.
You gotta take those into consideration.
Right. But if you get the correct answer, you just let us know, or stop up by and tell us. And we have a candy bar with your name on it.
That's right. Come up to the window, second floor S building.
There you go. There you go.
We're in this building?
We're in S building, yes.
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? All right, so moving along here, let's talk about college football. We haven't gotten to college
We
football
shall.
yet. We've only got a few minutes left here. Number 1, Alabama rolls over Tennessee. That was probably not too unexpected, but they've
No.
got Texas A&M coming up next. That should be a better game, I think. I still see Alabama coming out on top. I mean, they're
Sure.
they're a good team, but you never know. You never know what's going to happen there. Any bold
given
predictions?
Saturday.
Any given Saturday.
No, I think right now college football is pretty leveled out.
Yeah.
The teams, they experienced their little upsets, a couple here and there, a couple weeks past, but
Sure.
I think they're all kind of dug in and rolling forward
It's
with
going to be
predictions.
one or two big ones by the end of the year.
2 upsets? I think it depends. I mean,
Nah.
Ohio State, Michigan play each other obviously at the end of the year,
Right.
and they're 2-3 right now. So, assuming that the two of them roll until that date, which
It'll make
they
for an
should,
interesting game.
Yeah, would there be an upset there, one way or the other?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the only way it'd be an
I
upset
wouldn't
is if
even
someone
call
got
it
blowout.
Yeah, I wouldn't even call it an upset at that point if they still maintain.
Right.
You know.
I think that'd be the key. Is it'd have to be a close game
Right.
from that perspective. Speaking of Ohio State, they they got by Wisconsin with an overtime victory. They got by. It didn't look great again. Wisconsin, another tough week. They played well against Michigan.
Right.
Week before, played well against Ohio State. I mean, let's be honest. They'll probably.
I mean, Michigan squeaked by. I don't want to say squeaked by Wisconsin, but we had a tough go
Right.
at it that first half.
Right. And
You know,
and
they adjusted.
in the conference championship, I mean, I don't see Wisconsin not getting in on that other side. I mean, who else can really overtake
Really,
them?
nobody.
I mean, I don't see them not getting in. And so
Right.
with that, either Michigan or Ohio State, I'm assuming those are the two front runners on this side of the division.
Unfortunately, they're on the same side.
Right. I see those two probably playing off against against Wisconsin again, and that'll be an interesting game.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be
But in neutral place.
right.
Well,
So-
I don't think that really matters one way or the other, but
well, I mean,
I don't
you know,
see it being that close.
Yeah, well, Wisconsin went to the Big House and 14-7, right? And then this week they hosted Ohio State and lost in overtime. I mean,
right.
Well, no, in a neutral place, them going either, Ohio State, Michigan. Then you look at the Big Ten championship game that one year.
Right.
I don't see it being that close.
Don't think
the
so.
second time around for
Okay.
them.
so you have confidence in the coaching staff at both Michigan and Ohio State that they can make the adjustments to take it up on Wisconsin. There is what I think I hear you saying.
Yeah. Because it's already happened once.
Sound effects.
That was a Halloween sound
That's
effect,
right.
Steve. We
Creaky door, we
appreciate
call it.
Cricky Steve.
That's right.
Now, Ohio State does have a tough one this week, though, as they head out to Happy Valley to take on
I
Penn State.
don't think it's a tough one.
No, 8 o'clock game though for there, but we do wish Ohio State luck.
Sure.
Let's get it done.
Whatever.
Get it done. Michigan coming off their bye week, play host to Illinois.
Illinois.
So what do you think? You think they can squeak by Illinois?
I think they'll do just fine.
I think they'll be just
It's
fine.
homecoming
as well.
for Michigan, I do believe. So.
Great time for an upset.
Oh wow! Look at that. Is that a prediction over there?
You want to put a wager on that?
Now, mind you, we do not advocate betting in this college. However, a
Only
friendly
for
wager-
only for purchases made at Breakers.
That's correct.
Or $1.
Oh, $1.
Ooh, he's going cheaper than the face value of $1.50 Diet Coke.
Is that a Canadian dollar, sir? Because that's only like 60 cents.
No, I actually made,
Also known as a loon.
Loon, yes. I do have some loonies and toonies at home, I will tell you.
Yeah.
so far I made 6 bets this year. 5 of them paid off in $1 so far.
Okay.
This guy's
Right
rolling.
now, I'm good rolling.
Number 4, Clemson.
They're on fire.
They beat NC State in OT, so it
Yeah.
wasn't the
Wasn't
role
pretty,
that they
but
thought. Right.
Clemson's a tough team. They have been for the past 6 to 8 years.
Right.
Pretty solid.
They're off this week, and then they head down to Florida, or they play Florida State after that. So
That'll be tough.
Florida State's not bad.
That'll be
They're one of
tough.
those teams I think that's capable of an upset.
Right.
Not a world beater, but certainly capable. But it brings me to a question I wanted to ask you about is now you got Washington. They're undefeated. They're in the Pac-12. The only game maybe that they have is maybe a game with USC later in the year. I would say they're very capable of running the table.
I'll tell you why they won't go anywhere.
Let's
And
hear
they
it.
might not even get the credit due to them, in rankings, because the Pac died when Mariota left Oregon.
You're exactly right. And Washington beat up on Oregon
Right.
2 weeks ago. Now they have Oregon State coming.
The spotlight on the Pac is gone.
Gone.
It's actually going back to the Big Ten.
Right.
I mean, if we want to keep it in the top 10,
Right.
you spread things out once you go top 25. But
Yeah.
if you want to keep it in the top 10, the Pac is nowhere to be found. I don't care about their record or whatever.
Right.
The Pac itself is not what it used to be
Right.
3 years ago.
Right.
I
think there's a lot of truth to that. And Mariota leaving certainly has not been replaced at,
Right.
at that level.
Well,
Or even
Chip
close to
Kelly's
that
gone.
level. Right. Right.
So
Where's Chip Kelly going to wind up?
probably unemployed.
Yeah, he's still
Again.
He's a puppet. He's just a puppet at San Francisco. The same thing that Harbaugh luckily left from. But
Right.
one of the biggest debacles shy of Butch Davis going into the pro
Butch
world.
Davis, Cleveland Brown extraordinaire there.
But he
Not
did get him in the playoffs.
Not
though.
everybody can make that switch.
Right.
You can't make that conversion. It's
Let's
tough.
be honest, it's a very different mentality. In college, as a coach, you make the decisions,
Right.
you bring the kids in, and honestly, those kids are out in 4 years
Sure.
or less if you want them as a coach.
And they don't have the egos that the pros used to,
Well, and as
or
a
the
pro-
contracts.
Well, I was going to say, as a pro, you're making 10 times more than what the coach is making.
Right.
If someone's going, it's not
Right.
always the player.
Sure.
And they
Sure.
know that. And that's a tough one.
I don't think Washington. I think Washington's going to be that. They're going to fall. They're going to fall.
Right. What about West Virginia? West Virginia's kind of been steadily climbing the polls. They beat some teams. They beat Texas Tech last week, who I don't think is a very good team this year overall. But they've climbed up. They're number 12 now. They play the TCU Horned Frogs. Now,
Always a tough team.
TCU, they can score points.
Yeah.
They can score points with the best of them, and I'm still sore from, as I think I've mentioned on the show before, a few years ago when Ohio State won and leapfrogged in the Final Four for the playoffs.
Right.
They leapfrogged over TCU, and TCU slaughtered their opponent and dropped out for some reason.
Right.
We talked earlier about officiating and the legitimacy of it all. In my view, that immediately pulled into question how these teams are ultimately selected. I felt it was some money involved. I felt that there was, when I say money involved, meaning that who's going to draw the most spectators.
Who's gonna draw it, right.
Who's going to generate the revenue. And
Right.
let's be honest, Ohio State, they have a following.
Sure.
They really do. And I felt that played a role in that decision at that time.
Oh yeah. And I think everybody else sniffed that out as well.
Right.
Problem with this is, I don't think you can perfect college playoff system
Right.
as more than it already is. There's too many teams. I mean, if that's the case, the season would be all year round. By the time you'd whittle it down,
Right.
it is where
That's
it is.
true.
You can only do the best. But the BCS was horrible.
Right.
That was horrible.
Right.
Whatever computer programming formulation they used.
Well,
to
the thing
get
to
that.
remember is that the computer programs are still made by a person.
Sure.
And so there's going to be errors somewhere.
Right.
And there's always a situation that someone doesn't think about or see or
Right.
what have you. So,
Although, might I add, my fantasy league, I'm 7-0,
here we
courtesy
go.
of a computer auto pick.
But again,
Well, the nice thing is I took out the first in our league.
Yeah.
they took out. I'm sorry.
The first person in our league,
Oh,
number one, that's been undefeated, took him out this past week.
Nice.
Okay. Why?
Just because. Because I
Too
know
good?
how to pick teams.
Okay. So good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. So you overtook them. So you won in your fantasy league this week. Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Do you two play off against each other?
No, we're not in the same league.
Yeah.
Is one the professional, one the college league or high school league in comparison, or what not in the same
Well,
league? I'm
he's the
sorry.
college. I'm the station.
What? I'm lost.
I was just referring to
Doesn't
ability
you know
levels.
you have the college
Oh,
whatever,
I'm,
whatever, high school
I'm
level.
definitely pro. Definitely pro.
All right. All right, we're going to wrap it up here.
Sure.
Just a few minutes
Sure.
here. Do we have anything coming up for Coffee and Cops at all in the future here?
Yeah, actually, the last Wednesday of the month. Not sure what actually day that is offhand, but the police department is teaming up with the Women's Center. As many people might not know, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Right.
So,
26.
thank you. Wednesday the 26th at noon in the CLI. We're going to have a representative here from Forbes House, which is a local Lake County shelter,
Right.
talking about domestic violence, bringing the awareness back onto that and the services that they provide. So noon on the 26th, please join us in the Women's Center in welcoming the Forbes House here to Lakeland to highlight Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
That's an extremely important topic and one that unfortunately is all too common, not just in Lake County, but across the country. So,
Right.
yeah, that would be certainly something to go support and learn more about. It's a great organization there. Again, I want to remind you about the LinkedIn workshop Friday, October 21st. That is an A1039. Give Blood, October 25th and 26th from 11 to 5 in the Athletic and Fitness Center. Get that $5 6-inch Subway gift card. And speaking of giving blood, Halloween shout out for the last time, Jeremiah.
The 27th, kids party 6 to 8 p.m. The adults are 9 to 11.
Done.
You got
Bless you.
Holy
No,
mackerel.
cough.
That was
Okay.
a lung over there.
Yeah, I
Is that
mean,
part of your Halloween?
I think it's on the
costume?
wall.
Yeah, something. Well, you have to clean it up.
Right.
Oh, there we go.
You have free, food. You got photo booth, all that, inflatables.
It's a good time. It's
Yeah.
a good time.
that stuff.
What are you dressing up as, Jeremiah? Do we know that yet?
Oh, I'm not going to be here.
Why?
What?
Yeah,
I thought you'd be dressing up as a lung.
nice.
Lung cheese.
Nice. Don't worry. Next week I'll come up with something for him.
All right, outstanding.
Right. I thought I totally just forgot what I was going to say.
All right, well, let me tell you, to answer our trivia question. All right.
How many innings?
18 innings. 18 innings. The Cubs have gone scoreless. They've been shut out 2 games in a row by the Los Angeles Dodgers, which is obviously 18 innings. So they were on the road. They scored in the bottom of the 8th to win a game that was at home. So they did not bat in the bottom of the 9th.
Tommy Lasorda would be proud.
How about that? Go Tommy. That's old school there.
Yeah.
Steve Garvey, Ron Say. Look at those guys. All right, go get them. All right, guys, we're going to sign off here. So
Actually, I want to just let anybody know if
Yes,
they want to follow the police department. We do have our own Facebook page.
Uh-oh.
We've had it for a while, but always like to plug it to stay informed from some of the events happening on campus or anything we're putting on, down to parking lot closures or anything like that. If you want to stay informed with Mother Nature getting ready to get into her winter mood, we do stay connected.
At least you didn't say the S word.
Snow.
gotta love snow.
You really stop. You
Snow.
really
I
need
love
to.
Awesome.
snow.
As a hockey guy, I love snow. I can't wait. If I get enough snow, I'll build a rink in my backyard.
There you
Life-
go.
Life will be good.
Right.
You know that's a cuss word, right?
We'll call it Mystery Ohio.
That's correct, Mr.
Right.
Ohio. I gotta like that. Hey, I do want to remind you tonight, volleyball game.
Okay.
All right, we are playing the second-ranked team in the country, Owens Community College, tonight at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Come support your Lady Lakers against Owens Community College. So that'll
Right
be
on.
tonight.
I'd love to make it, but I'm putting myself back to school. So
All right.
I got class tonight.
All right. What class do you have?
Intro to psychopathology.
So you're analyzing everything that we're talking right now and how,
No.
how our criminal minds are working?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. It's, a study of abnormal behavior.
We have a lot of that here.
I find it, treasure trove.
Yeah, It's not like anything
starting with this one
happens
next to
here.
me.
That's right. All right, folks. You all have a great day.
Take it
and,
easy.
Have fun, and we're checking out right now. Go Lakers.
Go blue.
Go Hokies.
It's a local music spotlight on Lake Effect Radio. Franchise Feel This Pain featuring William Money.